So, guys, I'm Will Finch. I run Finch Performance. It's a quarterback business, I guess, or training program, I guess, out of Burlington, Ontario. I played at Western for 4 years, and then after that, I coached at Laurier for a season with Jax here, and then I went back to Western, and then now I'm just focusing solely on my coaching here. So things are going well.
Awesome. Cool.
What's going on, guys? Meyer, coach for the UBC Thunderbirds, working with the quarterbacks and assisting the offense. I also played at UBC, and I think if you guys saw the last episode, you already know enough about me. So appreciate you having me out.
Perfect, Mike.
I'm Michael O'Connor. I'm from Ottawa, Ontario. I played high school football in Ottawa, but also was fortunate enough to play in Tennessee and Florida. Played 1 year at Penn State, and then I did 4 years at UBC, won a Vanier Cup in 2015, and I'm going into my second year with the Toronto Argonauts.
Amazing. So, when I was putting this panel together, and, I'm fortunate enough to meet a lot of guys that, I think could speak to playing quarterback. But what I loved about, being able to get you three guys is just the difference in perspective. And, one guy who's playing in the pros, guy who's coaching, currently in USports, guy who's more focused on the development side, and has some experience coaching USports as well. So I think we'll get a great kind of, breadth of answers to questions. The first question, and this obviously you could talk about a bunch of things, but if you could narrow it down to one thing, what would you say for a quarterback who's making the jump from high school to the university or college level? What's the biggest thing they need to prepare for? And I guess the biggest difference at that level. Mike, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, sure. I would say, if they are making the jump first off from high school to USports, then I think they have the athletic ability already, and that's something that will obviously increase over time. But the one thing I would say that might be quite a shock to some players is the mental side of things, and in terms of how are you reading the defense, are you getting in the playbook, are you making sure your teammates are in the right position, and that falls on you as a quarterback. And you might not have a lot on your plate as a high school quarterback, but come college time, that role might get increased. So I would just say the mental side of things, making sure you are preparing every game, and making sure that again that you're doing everything you can to let your teammates know that you're ready to go.
For sure. Cool. And that?
I would say time management is a big one. Understanding how to manage your time. It kind of just goes hand in hand with what Mike was saying. You have a lot more time as a high school quarterback to hang out with your friends or do homework or whatever you really want to do once you get to the next level. It's pretty much a time crunch everywhere you go. You're going from the gym to trying to eat snacks and eat properly, to get to film, get to meetings. Me and Mike are usually in the film room, 6 hours a day, right? So definitely time management is going to allow you to be more successful and allow you to put less pressure on yourself in later moments of the semester or the year or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's huge for sure, both on the school end and on the football end. Will, anything to add to that?
I think the biggest adjustment for me, kind of echoing off of what Mike said there, the game's faster. I mean, you're going to be the players you're going up against are a lot. They were studs in high school too, right? So you're going back there. Everybody's going to be faster. You're going to have to put the ball in the tighter windows, obviously. Your mechanics obviously got to be more efficient. You got to be a little more polished. But, the game's faster, and you're going to be playing against faster guys too. So that's all the big lesson I noticed. And same with what Cole said too. Time management, you gotta really buckle down and get into the books and everything, because if you don't, you can get swamped and get over this stuff, right? So.
Yeah, I think that's huge, and you can't really afford any inefficiencies at the USPORT level, or the college level, whatever level you're playing at when you make that jump from high school. That kind of actually leads nicely into the second question. That's, do you guys have any tips? And obviously, there's a million different types of offenses, and how much the quarterback's responsible for, but just in general, in terms of picking up a playbook. So whether you're a high school guy who's got a new coach, or you're a guy who's going to university, or you're just a guy that's maybe already in university but has a new coordinator, what are some tips you have for quarterbacks for picking up the playbook? Will, do you want to start with that one?
So the big thing I've learned is it's one thing going out there and putting the playbook in front of you and just kind of memorizing it but if you don't know what you're trying to do, that's where you can get to a little rough. You better know what you're trying to do with that progression or the concept. So I don't know, say four verts, for example, whatever it is, you got to know what you're throwing against, what coverage, what your check down is. If you get someone hot, this kind of thing, right? So you got to know why you're trying to run it and what you're trying to do. And for younger guys, I find if they do that, that's when it's easier easier to understand the play, not just kind of putting it in front of you and just drawing it and that kind of thing. So,
yeah, for sure. Good point. Cole?
Yeah, like a big one for me, at least what we do here is we like to get our quarterbacks to coach us the play afterwards. So we really believe, like, if you have the ability to explain it to somebody in full detail, then you have a full understanding of it. So that's a good, kind of reiteration, kind of hearing the points that they're reiterating to us and kind of correcting from there. It's a good one. For me personally, I just kind of relate it all to like how I learn in school. So I always try to use different strategies, whether it was like, maybe a certain word sounded close to another word, or I would just use it as like a key to relate it to like a symbol, or like even maybe mix in with our signals or whatever. But just however I can make that as comfortable as possible. And I think a big successful part of that too, like Will was saying, is like actually understanding the why. Like, why are we looking to throw here first? Why is this our first read? Why is this taking us to our second read? Or what is taking us to our second read? Or what is taking us to our check down or whatever? So really having that full understanding of why we're doing this. Typically they know why if they're able to explain it back to you or explain it to a teammate, because ideally the quarterback is the coach on the field, right? So he needs to be able to explain that play probably as well as the OC does, I would argue.
Yeah, that's a great point. Anything to add to that, Mike?
Yeah, those are both great points. I would say there's so many different ways that you can try and learn something, and I think that there's really no secret. It just takes a lot of hard work, focus, dedication, a lot of time. You got to spend a lot of time studying the playbook. Like, for example, I'm trying to learn a new playbook. Right now with Argos, we have a new head coach, a new offensive coordinator. So I'm breaking the plays down by formation. Okay, so every formation, if I hear the formation call in the huddle, I know my brain clicks, okay, it could be one of these 30 plays. I'm also breaking the plays down by protection. So every single protection. So now I'm getting a kind of a feel for, okay, so what now anytime we're in Bomber 64, I know exactly what's going on the backside. I know where my hot is. Okay, now I'm good. Mike Sam, I have to worry about Mike Sam, but now I'm good with the boundary hat. So I hear B64, I'm already into that world. I know exactly what type of routes are coming. If I'm writing the plays, always write every single play out, left hash and right hash. You got to do both. And I'm writing in my plays. I'm writing if it's man coverage, I'm 1, 2, 3. If it's zone, I'm ABC. If the read might change, it might be the same. If I have a hot, I'm going to put that in red, so I know exactly when I'm looking at the play. Okay, I know exactly what's going on when I'm hot, because you want to know that, or else you might get hit in the back of the face, and you don't want that. And then finally, know where your check down is. Know where your check down is. That's always in yellow, because if your clock's going off and you're in the pocket, you want to know exactly where. Oh, where's my outlet? Where's my outlet? Maybe it's the running back this play. Maybe it's the receiver on a drag this play. Maybe it's something else. So there's a multitude of ways to learn. I like what Cole said, though. Definitely is teach it to your receivers. Meet with your receivers. Teach them the playbook. That shows them that you're taking this stuff seriously, and it's also showing them that you know what you're doing, and it's helping you as well to learn the playbook. There's so many times I'm explaining concepts to a receiver, and then it brings up a question in my own head, like, oh, I actually don't know this, so then I will go ask the offensive coordinator, or I'll go find the answer myself. But there's so many ways to learn. You just got to be dedicated and focus, and really commit yourself to it.
Yeah, I think that's huge, and the idea of teaching it back, to your teammates. At some point, you as the quarterback, you're going to have to do that, right? If it's in the huddle or on the sideline, or at practice with a younger guy or whatever. So being able to have some practice of that, I think that's an unbelievable point, and something as coaches, I try to remember to have that happen in my own room myself. Like, I can sit up there and talk about inside zone to my running backs forever, but it's a great way for me to see what my guys know and then give them a chance, to teach it in a different way to the young guys in our group. So both great questions, kind of on the transition from, high school to college, or one playbook to another. It's super beneficial. Really common question. We got it from 3 or 4 guys, and I know there's no one answer. And I know a lot of the answer is just working hard to improve a lot of different things. But in terms of improving velocity and arm strength, I think everyone's, so fixated on that. Right now, you see Mahomes throw the ball all over the place, and, it'd be great if you could have a guy that did that too, or as a player, you could be the guy that does that. What have you found most beneficial, whether it's in the weight room or out of the weight room, to helping improve, a quarterback's arm strength? Mike, you want to take that one first?
Sure. This might not be quite like a scientific answer, but I would say play multiple sports in high school. I remember I played basketball, football, baseball, track and field, and I truly believe that really allowed me to be successful in football. And don't specialize too soon. And I think that is very important, and that should definitely be heard today. And I would also say, more directly, core is a huge thing. Make sure you're always working on your core. That's where everything starts, I believe. And then mobility as well. Make sure that you don't want to be so strong that you're really tight. Quarterback is definitely a unique position, so it's important to be strong, but at the same time to be mobile as well.
That's a really good point, Cole.
Yeah, I would just say, it's not the bicep curls that are going to push you 10 yards further in your throw. It's definitely got to be the core and the hips, and working on that mobility, flexibility, like Mike was saying. The amount of quarterbacks I get that are strong and can push the ball real far, but they can't rotate all the way around their trunk, or they lack core stability, or they lack arm, rotation, or they're not able to finish rotation just because they're stuck and they're so unflexible in certain ways, or even they've done like a big upper body workout and then they come throw and they're like, why can't I throw? Well, your body doesn't want to work like that right now. Your body's not ready to move like that. You need to focus on stretching more. You need to do a little more post or prehab workout to get your body more in the rhythm of things, right? Because ideally, you should be able to go do a workout and still go get a good throw around in, because you should be using the right muscles to support everything correctly. You should be flexible enough to make all the throws. So, yeah, definitely flexibility is a big one. Especially for me, I'm not a very big guy. We're in this chat with a couple of massive quarterbacks. There's some big bodies in this room, and I'm not that way. So for me, it was definitely about, finding ways to make up for my lack of size. And one was definitely flexibility and quick explosiveness.
Yeah, for sure. And Will, anything to add to that there?
So I think for getting in the gym, that's the question, right?
Yep. Well, yeah. Gym or out of the gym, either or. Just development in general.
How to develop arm strength, yeah.
Yeah, I think the big thing that I've learned what works with guys is making sure they're doing movements that they're going to be doing on the field, and you can add implements to that. So whether it's working on more rotational velocity, so getting med balls involved, working on maybe getting bands involved, you can start working weight transfer, different ways you can simulate or supplement the throwing that you're doing on the field, but adding different sorts of, like I said, implements. So the one I love doing is still, you put a med ball in your hands. Now you don't obviously throw overhead with that. It's going to be too hard on your shoulder joint, but if you're going to sit there with your base going, you can work your whatever weight you're bringing back in your throw, and you can actually drive that into the ball, keeping your core tight and all that. That's going to obviously translate to the field, and that's something I do with my guys. I think I've seen it work too, especially guys that need to get a bit of juice on the ball too, and they understand how to really create that fluidity and that weight transfer too. So, that's one thing. That's a good way to do it. Pick a med ball up and start working that. There's tons of stuff online you can learn about med ball slams and whatever it may be, right? But there's lots of things like that too. And now to echo kind of what I was just saying there too, there's a lot of stuff you can do for the shoulder joint as well. So when you're throwing, maybe you're throwing like weighted baseballs, you throw at those. You do that, your shoulder joint can handle what it's like. So when you're throwing a football, your arm can move faster, right? Things like that. There's a bunch of different ways to attack it, but like I said, med ball to me is what I like working with.
And in terms of, and this was, I mean, similar question in terms of developing, your ability to throw the football well in games. One of the other questions I got was, in terms of developing in-game accuracy, has there been anything that you guys have found particularly helpful over just the kind of general stuff that's out there, or like a place you'd start with as a coach with an athlete whose accuracy might be struggling in game? Will, do you want to take that one first?
So what I like doing is I like working on routes and concepts that you're actually running. I mean, if you're going to be, say your offense runs a lot of digs or routes or whatever it is, you're going to be working those routes. However, you're going to do it from just your basic rhythm on timing. You're going to do it on platform, off platform, and throw from multiple different ways, right? So if you're going to get rushed backside, front side, I mean, there's no use, in my opinion, there's no use, throwing types of throws that you'll never throw. Like, you're not going to be rolling right, throwing across your body and stuff. You're going to be doing stuff that you're actually going to do on game day, and that's going to translate pretty well. So
cool. Anything to add to that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just kind of goes back to like the couple of starting questions. Like, it's all about just being prepared. If you're not accurate on game day, then typically it has something to do with timing, or you've made a wrong read, I would argue. So you haven't got your hips set correctly. Your hallway is not in the right spot it should be in relation to your read, in relation to the timing of the concept, kind of like what Will was saying there, trying to relate that to more of an in-game day experience. So, I mean, I just found that, when I was around quarterbacks that know how to make the right read, they get their body set up correctly to make those throws because they know where they're going with the football. It's not like they're in and out or hesitant or half and half of it. It's the quarterbacks that are hesitant or not confident in where their eyes are taking them or where their body's taking them that usually have that lag or miss throw or timing's off. So then we see kind of the accuracy issues start to form.
And to add to that one there, Mike?
I would say just, I think it's easy to throw routes on air when there's kind of nothing going on and it's just you and the receiver. But game is a little bit more chaotic than that, and I think that I think it would benefit us to try and make training as game-like as possible. And what I mean by that is just trying to make it a little bit more chaotic for the quarterback, so that you're not comfortable, I guess, and just throwing routes on air, because game is not like that. You got defenders in your face, offensive linemen backing up it, and so just trying to do anything you can to make it a little bit more stressful in practice, I think will benefit your in-game accuracy.
And so kind of moving towards, more specific questions, this was, kind of one that I got from a few different people, and that's how much do you throw in the off season? And I know that'll depend obviously on, hey, if you're a pro quarterback or if you're an 8-year-old quarterback, I'm sure it's a different number. What would be kind of for a high school age quarterback or a kid that's transitioning from high school to university, what would be your advice on how much you're throwing in the off season? Will, I know you're tight for time, so do you want to take that one first?
Sure. For that one, I mean, as a high school guy, for example, you calculate how many throws you do in that week, whether it's, 350 throws, 400, whatever it is, and you try to simulate that. That's what I like doing. You don't have to overthrow, because a lot of times you can match those throws with competitive type throws in practice and that, or outside of practice, but you can do supplemental throws in terms of, you can start working your hips, you can work your stroke or your sequence without actually having to throw a ball too, right? So you can still groove the pattern and you can work it without actually having to get competitive throws where you're actually using a football, right? So, I mean, for me, I just think, roughly you find out how much you're going to actually throw and try to stimulate that. I don't know if you have to be throwing 2,000 balls a week. Your body's not meant to do that unless you're really matching it up with band work and all that. But I think you just got to match it up kind of what you're doing competitively. So.
Cool. Anything to add there?
Yeah, I agree. Like even what Mike was saying earlier, like I want guys to be multi-sport athletes. I was a multi-sport athlete. Like, baseball was my first real love of sport. So, I'm playing baseball while I'm playing football. That's a lot of throwing on my rotator cuff, right? So just kind of being aware of how much throwing you are doing and what you can and cannot handle, right? And like And that'll make you ask even further questions like, okay, maybe I'm getting sore too quick throwing. Oh, well, maybe I'm actually not throwing right. Maybe I need to actually fix my fundamentals so that I can throw more footballs or more baseballs for a longer period of time. So I'm just not stressing out the wrong ligaments or the wrong issues in my throws. And then you'll start noticing, oh, I can throw for hours now, no problem. So I definitely don't want people overthrowing though. Like there is definitely such thing of throwing too many throws in a day or throwing your arm out in a day. I've done it before myself because I like to work hard as well. So it's definitely, I think having a good structural system, like knowing you're going in that day to accomplish 40 good throws, right? And how do I accomplish 40 good throws today? It's not, okay, rush through this and panic and just like get through it and work hard. Well, you've just kind of wasted 20 of those throws. So you in your own heart are going to want to stay there for the rest of the day anyways and try to make another 40 throws up anyway. So just make sure the work you're doing is good work and there's a purpose behind it and you're focusing on the right things. And I think you can accomplish everything of what you're trying to accomplish in that day.
For sure. Mike, anything else there?
Yeah, I would say about twice a week. That's usually what I've been in the off season. And yeah, like I was saying earlier, like Cole was saying, play some other sports, run track and field in the off season. That benefited me a lot, I would say, and basketball as well. Track and field for straight line speed, basketball for footwork. That's all great stuff, and that's all. I couldn't recommend that enough to any young guys out there that want to play at the next level. But yeah, don't overthrow in the off season. Twice a week was usually what I would be doing.
Yeah, I personally can't say enough. I mean, I had a multi-sport background. I wasn't a quarterback, far from a quarterback, but I grew up. I played hockey. I didn't play football till high school, and my dad is a high school head coach. I grew up playing hockey and basketball. My brother grew up playing hockey and basketball, and we both played football in high school. He ended up playing basketball as his main game, and I ended up playing football. And so he was playing two sports all the way through. I played a little bit of basketball in high school, but a ton of rugby, and I just feel like like you guys both said, and I feel like quarterback might be a spot where people fall into the trap of, hey, there's, it's kind of like goalie in hockey or maybe, like a pitcher in baseball. Like there's one of those guys out there on the field. Like you got to be the best of the best, to get on the field. And I think there's a lot of pressure for guys to pursue playing football as that's their thing. Like that's what they're doing. And I think it's amazing to hear, the stories from obviously guys who have made those successful transitions, and even, Mike, a guy who's playing in the pros, but how important it is to play other sports.
Yeah. Especially when you, like you said, like the position of quarterback is obviously it's put on a pedestal in the professional world of sports for sure. But I don't think really people realize like the position requires everything. You know what I mean? Hand-eye, thinking on the fly, being calm, being a leader, like, and those are all the things that I feel like you obtain in multiple sports. Like you have to, you have to do those things to be successful in a lot of sports, right? So I think as you play all these different ones, you kind of start saying, oh, if I can just get good at like being just a wholesome athlete, it's going to correlate to wherever I want it to correlate. And then when eventually it's time to specialize and decide, okay, I'm going to narrow it down to one sport, then hopefully you're in a pretty good spot to reach the opportunities that you need to reach, right?
Yeah, I think it helps guys not burn out too, which is a huge thing.
Yeah,
and I see that with my
exciting.
Yeah, I see that with my high school guys. And I coach. We have a little bit of a different system. I'm not sure what it's like out west, but in Ontario we have like summer football, so there's community football played in the summer. And when I get my guys in May and they've just coming off basketball season or hockey season or whatever it is, they're pumped. Like they can't wait to get out and play football. And you'd think, oh, by the time the playoffs come around, they'd be more excited. Well, they know they have a high school season coming, right? So I almost see that in a one season type deal. Whereas you can, it's literally visible that how excited guys are to play football when they're coming off that other sport, and I think that's something that, can't be said enough, like you guys both alluded to. So we talked about throwing in the off season. We talked about kind of the general, accuracy, velocity, those type of things. One of the interesting questions I got, and I actually posed to you guys before we went online, was about, dropping back, whether you're using a traditional drop back, or the question was, do you guys see any benefits to kind of backing out? And I'm assuming what they mean is like the old school, like shoulders square, kind of backing out. Is there any, like, what benefits do you guys see with that? And, even if it's not something that you directly coach, like what type of system might that fit into, or how do you kind of see that being a part of the quarterback skill set? Mike, you can take that one first.
Okay, sure. I would say I don't mind it if I'm thrown to my left, to be honest with you, because I'm kind of I was actually experimenting with that this off season, and it feels pretty good, really. Um, Basically, if I'm throwing something kind of a deep outbreaking concept to the left, like sail concept, that's when I will back out. So yeah, I mean, I think it has its merit a little bit, but not too much. And you don't want to be kind of being getting too predictive in terms of every time you're backing out, you're running this one play. But that's how I see it right now. Is I kind of only like it for some deep outbreak to the left. That's about it. Yeah.
Cool. Any out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mike and I had to play against the man named Noah Picton, and he was the king of backing out. He went ahead Crichton, and I watched him dice up a lot of defenses. So I think just with the type of system that they had, just the quick, decisive throws, it was easy to cut off half a field right away because it was just like, all right, well, our concept's happening now. I got to make a quick decision. It also depends on the comfortability of your quarterback. I mean, if that works for them and they're able to efficiently on time deliver a football and go through 3 different reads while doing that, then if it wins you football games, how could you say no to that, right? So definitely a comfortability thing. But like Mike said, I think unless you're doing that over a multitude of different plays, it's going to get pretty predictable. And I think that's what was unique about Noah, was that he did it every play, or at least every time I saw him drop, it was some version of that. It was very rare that we saw him do a traditional straight drop back. But then, to Mike's point, like, I've watched Mike probably not even think about it and just do it in a game, right? Without even thinking about it, just that's what was comfortable and took him there to make the throw at the time. It's also good, I would argue, for if you're, like Mike said, if you're aware of where the free blitzer or free rusher is coming from, that actually might be a good idea to help you back out or slide in a certain direction to give you an extra bit of time to throw a football. So I would say, it's a good tool to have in the toolbox, and choosing selectively when to use it, and knowing that, the defense pays attention to that. If you're only doing it once a game, then ideally they might key into that and say, okay, the one time they do it this game, they're going to throw that sail route. So it's, it's got its pros and cons for sure.
And kind of the last question, I guess I got 2 more left for you guys, but if you're coaching, and I know we kind of talked about this before as well, and I know it's like a lot of these topics, there's a lot to go into, and you guys are doing a great job of keeping it succinct, so that the people can enjoy it from that standpoint. But when you're teaching guys to finish a throw, like, I hear that all the time. And again, I don't coach quarterbacks, but you got to stand in there, you got to finish the throw. You know what I mean? What body position ideally are you looking for that guy to be in terms of his lower body and upper body as he finishes that throw, to let him do some of the other things we talked about, drive the ball down the field? Mike, do you want to take that one first?
Sure. I'll let Cole speak more to the hips and the lower body, but the one thing I would say is I think it's you ever heard a coach say kind of like finish in the pocket? But to me, it's not so much where your right arm finishes as much as it is that you get full extension in your elbow. So if you think about it, I could finish a throw without bringing my right arm all the way through. As long as I fully extend through my elbow, I think that I'll be fine. Like, think about throwing a sidearm throw. What's the key to that? I'm not going to finish in the pocket. I'm just going to fully extend my elbow. And that's how I see it, finishing the throw in terms of the upper body.
Yeah, I mean, like, on game day, I don't care what you do as long as you complete a pass and win us a football game. So as long as you're making efficient, good, stable movements and finding a way to win, awesome. In the world of technique and private training and practice, for sure, there's definitely a perfect position I'd love everyone to have. But ideally is just if you're maintaining balance, if you're staying stable, you're going to see a lot of good things happen. If you're unbalanced and falling off, you're going to see, you know, missed throws, inaccurate throws, loss of power, certain things like that. You know, even guys like Mahomes, we see them do incredible sidearm throws. Well, yeah, like Mike said, they do find a way to extend through the elbow or tricep, which is awesome. But how do they get power, right? Where they're still creating power and generating rotation through the hips. It might not be as accurate of a rotation as if it would be if we could just stand in the pocket for 8 seconds, but just finding a way to kind of stay to our sequencing and understanding kind of like the you know, the what's the word I'm looking for here? The non-negotiables. As long as you can stick within that, and then I think you'll be able to find still a lot of success with the lower body and the upper body. But ideally, just like learning how to use the ground to help you and maintain stability is going to be a big key.
Last question, and what was actually cool in this episode is I think I got 3 or 4 questions from guys who I know just through recruiting. Only one of them's come to Laurier, but guys that I had recruited. So young quarterbacks that are in that transition phase. You know, next year will be their rookie year. You know, and a bunch of those guys ask these type of questions. But for you, and obviously there's a million types of offense, a million types of quarterbacks, especially now you got everything from, you know, the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady to Lamar Jackson, you know, Mahomes, guys running around all over the place. What are the traits that you guys see in really successful quarterbacks that like carry over time and time again? What are the kind of things that, you know, if you have those traits, you're really setting yourself up to be successful? You know, Mike, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, sure. That's a really good question. I think there's a lot of different things. Oh man, the common, I guess, yeah. I would say, I mean, competitive. You know, I mean, I don't know. You just hate to lose. I feel like that's very important. You just gotta hate to lose. I hate to lose so much. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. Like if it could be a basketball game, could be a volleyball game, could be a card game, could be a game of chess. I just hate losing, and I think that kind of translates to the football field in a way, because it's just a competitive nature, and I think that all the greats have that, and so it's just, I don't know. I hate losing no matter what it is. And I think that that competitive nature has done me well in my career, and I think for Cole as well.
Yeah, I mean, I hate losing too more than anything. I think for me, like I said, like if I'm trying to compare all the greats, right? You know, they're all not going to be the same, right? Mike and I are very different genetically, but I think we both have relentless effort, I would argue, right? Like we both are day in and day out dedicated and committed to the craft of it, and we're willing to give and sacrifice everything we have, and we're willing to actually put the effort into action. We're not just sitting here and talking about it. We're not just sitting here and just blabbing about it and making things sound good. It's, you know, this guy, Mike, man, you know, we used to get in trouble because he would burn out the light bulb on the projector because we'd be in the film room all night, and, you know, like it just never stopped. And Mike wasn't out there trying to go, hey guys, like be like me, or hey guys, I'm studying all the time. This is what we need to do. He just did it. He wanted to win so badly. He knew that these are the steps that it would take to give him an opportunity to be more successful in the field. And he put in that relentless effort, that day in and day out kind of time management that we talked about earlier, and commitment to excellence. So, you know, when you look at a guy like Russell Wilson, you compare him to a guy like Tom Brady, you know, they're both winners, right? They both are competitors. They both want to do anything they can to win. They're both willing to put the team on their back. They're both willing to hand the ball off in a situation where maybe they should run it, you know what I mean? Or vice versa, right? But you know, like Mike said, yeah, definitely your willingness to want to win. Because why are you here? If you don't want to win, why are you here? You know, like at the end of the day, I know we're here to have fun for sure, but winning is the most fun, I would argue. So I'm here to win too, and I know a lot of other great quarterbacks are here to win. But you know, that we could sit here and talk for hours again about all the different traits and intangibles it could take. But I think just the general ones that we see exemplified by the greats are good enough to kind of get you in the right path.
Yeah, and I think that kind of call to action is the most important part of that statement. Like I think a lot of people people get confused, and I think a lot of high school, and again, I coach high school guys, and it's a maturation process for them to understand, yes, like not liking winning or not liking losing isn't hating to lose. Like those are two different, like what are you willing to do? You know, what is that passion for winning, passion for being successful, passion for achieving stuff that other people don't think you can do? What does that actually lead you to do? And I think that
you get exposed quick. That you can get exposed very quick, right? If you're a guy who's kind of preaching that, and then he gets on game day, and maybe you took a little nick to your toe or got stepped on or something, are you pulling yourself out of the game, or are you not even stressed about that and still focused on winning, right? Like I've seen multiple players throughout all levels pull themselves out or do some weird stuff like that, and that's kind of when I go, okay, we're seeing some character now. We're seeing the truth. So.
Yeah, the adversity is so real, and whether at some point, and I've coached a lot of guys who very talented, and it's not like a you have it or you don't thing. I think sometimes people think that like you can learn the skills to want to be able to win, and I think that the quarterbacks
gotta have the fire.
Yeah, like if you don't have that drive, you're never going to go down the path of learning those things. But I think that that's huge and such a great perspective. And really appreciate you guys coming on. Big thanks to Will. He had to jet out there, but we knew that was coming. So really appreciate it. And I'm sure there's a lot of young quarterbacks getting better watching this video.